give me the backstory. I don't think I actually know.
Okay, that's encouraging. So TreasureTress started when I was in uni.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I've always been obsessed with hair.
Okay.
Like from the age of 4, I used to get in trouble in school because I wasn't listening. I was always braiding someone's hair.
Okay.
And then by the time I got to secondary school, I
Yeah.
started charging people to do their hair in lunchtime, in break time. And then what happened next? And then I noticed that my hair wasn't growing.
Okay.
So I felt like my hair would get to a certain length and then it just wouldn't get any longer. And I was like, what is causing this? So then I Googled it and I came across a blog which was like all of these black women with really long, healthy, thick hair. And I was like, oh, okay, so black hair does grow. It's just that I'm doing something to my hair that isn't working.
Right.
And what I was doing was, it's horrific now that I say it, but I used to shampoo my hair, blow dry it, and then straighten it.
Right.
No conditioning, no deep conditioning, no leave-in conditioner, no heat protectant, no nothing. I just used to shampoo, blow dry, straighten. And then I discovered that there was actually a way to take care of your hair when it's naturally textured. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then I was purchasing all the products that all the girls on YouTube were using. But because we live in the UK, I was paying like £80 a month to Amazon.com to receive new products every month to try and find the product that worked for me. And I was like, this is actually ridiculous. I can't be the only person that's trying to find products that work for them and can't. And then I went on an internship to Beijing,
Okay.
packed my hair stuff. It was a month long. Towards the end of it, I lost all my hair care, or it ran out. I can't remember what it was. And so I had to go to a Russian supermarket across the road, buy some Head and Shoulders conditioner, which obviously done nothing for my hair, a like cheap gel, which is obviously not for my hair type in China. And then they didn't have any brushes, so I had to buy a shoe brush. And at that point, I realized, wow, if you don't live in the US or the UK, then when you're trying to take care of your hair, it is not easy. Then my next internship after Beijing was New York, which was like the opposite end of the spectrum, where it was like natural hair heaven, so many black-owned brands, founders' faces in the aisles of the stores. I was like, what is this? Like, this is actually next level. And when I was there, I noticed that they also had the subscription model on lock. Like, you could get a subscription for socks, sweets, hair care, makeup, literally everything. And then I looked back in the UK market and I was like, we actually have nothing. So I set the goal that if by the time I get back to the UK, there's not a subscription box for natural hair in the UK, I'm going to launch it.
Makes sense.
Which was all, it sounded great, but the reality is that I'd been interning for free for a year, which meant that I didn't have any money. So I was like, which industry pays well? Finance pays well? Perfect, I'm going into finance. So I got an internship in finance, stayed there for a month. No, I was meant to stay there for a month. They asked me to stay for free.
Okay.
Then I went back to uni to finish the last year of my degree. They offered me the graduate scheme. I joined the graduate scheme, and then while I was there, I started TreasureTress as an Instagram page.
Okay.
And that is pretty much the long and short of like the backstory. But when I first launched it, I thought it was going to be a box for little girls.
Right.
So in my mind, mums were going to buy this box for their daughters.
Makes sense.
But in reality, when we looked at the data, mums were buying it for themselves.
Right.
And so we went through a process of like maturing the brand because our old marketing used to be like super babyish.
Right.
And so we've tried to make it more mature over the years.
Interesting. I remember when TreasureTress launched actually.
Really?
This was, I think, I might have been in like second or third year in uni. And I just remember it just seeing online. I thought, oh, this is such a great idea.
Really?
But yeah.
Oh, wow.
But then also it goes back to your point around this subscription box as well. Because I think at the time subscription boxes were really in.
Yeah.
So yeah, it made so much sense.
Let's go into your backstory.
My backstory. So my backstory into entrepreneurship is a very, very long road. I think it all started when I was about 16, and my cousin.
I was about to cut you because you said long road, but you equally said you were in uni in 2015. It's not that long.
I know, right? I mean, it's only about just entering my 30s now, but yeah, literally. So I think so. At 16, I had no idea what business was, right? Which sounds bizarre now, anyway, because now like every 10-year-old on Instagram probably has an idea of what entrepreneurship is. But my whole thing was about, I don't know, I just wanted to do something to help people. And also, I didn't also know at the time, now I know that I was dyslexic, so I just focused on maths and science. So naturally, I was supposed to be a doctor or whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
And then my cousin used to import like electronics from China, so like GHDs and all that stuff. And I remember he just gave me some to just sell online. And he would charge me £40 for it. So like he would loan it to me anyway, and obviously I'll pay him £40 each one. And what blew my mind was like something I was paying £40 for would sell for like £100 on Amazon and eBay. I was like, oh my God, like this is crazy. So then that took me down the rabbit hole of entrepreneurship and business to try and figure out what it was. And then all of a sudden I was like, wait, so a business makes you money and you can do something to help people. So if I'm going to help people, I might as well just make money for it from it.
Absolutely.
Right? So that's how I got turned into entrepreneurship, and I just became so much tunnel visioned into it. And then since then, like I literally haven't looked back. And then fast forward to Ava Estell. So Ava Estell, the idea came about around 2016, I believe. So that's when I started dating Esther, who's my wife. And just through conversation, just like talking around, some of the issues that she was facing. There was actually noticed something around her, which was the fact that she would always opt to just keep her jacket on when we go out to eat or something like that. I'm like, I mean, who does that, right? But then she had a perfect reason for it, and was around some hyperpigmentations and marks that she had on her arm. And a lot of people will say sometimes like all you need is some words of encouragement, but sometimes it goes further than that. So luckily for me, I had been working in formulation in my last startup project that I was in. So I'd learned how to formulate, I understood the regulations around it. And I thought, yeah, sure, I'm sure I can create something for you and, just to score a second date or something like that, right?
I mean, pretty impressive.
And she was like, yeah, I don't want any chemicals on my skin. I was like, yeah, don't worry, I'm sure I can find all the natural ingredient alternatives. So that's exactly what I did. I formulated something for her. She used it and it worked for her. And it was actually supposed to be a business that she goes away and starts, because I was just like involved in all my other startups ideas and all the businesses I was involved in. So nothing really happened with the brand for a whole 4 years until COVID. So during COVID, we were all being paid to stay at home, about 80% of our wages to stay at home. And as a devoted entrepreneur, obviously I started to get a bit itchy. It's like, I'm sure when I went and checked my notes, I think I had like 100 different ideas.
Wow.
So this was the one I picked to try in that period of time. And it was literally supposed to be a side project. But fortunately for me, all the labs, so like all the industrial workplaces could still go to work, as well as like just people that were in offices. So like all the labs were still open, so I was able to reformulate, get all our safety approvals done, and which allowed me to then launch it on Instagram actually. So we thought, let's just put it out on Instagram and see what happens. So I'd given it to like friends and family, and they saw some amazing results from it. We thought, yeah, let's just put it on Instagram. COVID, we're all in lockdown project. Let's see how it goes. And then it absolutely just blew off from there. And that's when I think you were probably going to ask me a question around timing, right? And so that's when timing sort of like comes in, where so at the time I'd been not in business, but working either trying to start my own business or being involved in a startup as a career for the past 8 years. So just seeing that and the traction off the back of that is what really I understood from, just seeing opportunity and just doubling down on it. And yeah, we just took it from there, and here we are today. So from what I understand, TreasureTress has been going for about 8 years. So from the time you started and, all the journey you've been through, everything you've been through, how have you seen the landscape change, especially for like, Black entrepreneurs, Black businesses?
I think the landscape has changed since I launched TreasureTress by way of community.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's just because when I started, that was TreasureTress is my first go at entrepreneurship. So
Right.
outside of braiding hair
Done very well.
in my canteen, right? So this is like my first time at the rodeo. So I didn't know anyone.
Right.
My brother had started a few businesses. But other than that, there's no one in my family that does it.
Right.
So I was like, okay, like just figuring it out as I went along. And then I think as time has progressed, it's almost like there is this really, really nice, I find, an ever-growing network of Black entrepreneurs who openly share knowledge, openly share experiences, openly share resources. Because I just remember for so long just like always just figuring it out as I went along. And as you'll know, a lot of the information around entrepreneurship is American focused and is very US heavy. So it's nice that in the UK we actually have our own growing community of entrepreneurship, of people who have like mad talent, mad expertise. And then the beauty industry as a whole, so much.
Okay,
like,
tell me more about it.
I remember the reason why I was ordering from Amazon was because, I mean, I don't know if I should say this, but here we go. I put them in my trend report, so they already know. Tesco, like the product offering has been the same for the last 20 years. It has not changed.
Right.
Morrison's and Asda, they've started to improve their ranges, but realistically, there's still not enough representation on the shelves of brands that are specifically speaking to Black and multicultural consumers.
Makes sense. Yeah.
It's not as bad as it used to be.
Right.
Because before there were like maybe 4, even in like Superdrug and Boots, there were like 4 products when I first started.
Right.
And none of those products were the products that the US girls were using. So I was like, I'm not using them.
Using that.
I want to use what they're using.
Yeah.
So there's so many more brands now that are available.
Okay.
I think Mavs Translate Culture has just continues to demonstrate the power of D2C. And that has, I think, supercharged a lot of Black-owned brands. But equally, I think like just the expectations of Black-owned brands have become a lot higher, which I think is good.
Yeah.
Because brands like yourself, like Plant Made, are coming out of the UK, taking the world by storm. But equally, like the quality of the products is really, really good. Yeah. The results are there, and that wasn't there when I first started. Like, I think there were maybe like 5 Black-owned brands that I was like constantly like trying to work with, trying to collaborate with, trying to market their products. But at the time, they just couldn't achieve scale. They just couldn't work with us. It didn't work with their model. So I think Black entrepreneurship has really been refined over the last few years.
Makes sense.
Our product offering has been refined. And I think it's so encouraging that everyone is glued together through a community that just wants to see like us as a people do better, excel, and take back market share.
No, I mean, makes sense. The only thing I would say to there is, regardless if it's a Black-owned brand or not, I mean, the quality should still be top notch. Even more so if it's a Black-owned brand anyway.
It should.
We shouldn't sell short our community, not at all.
No, I agree. Yeah. But I think there is like a special like fuzzy feeling that people get when they use a Black-owned brand.
Right. No, 100%.
Because
it's coming from
that's
someone
the
that
number one
understands you.
email that we get. Like, okay, can we get more Black-owned brands? Is this Black-owned? Like, people really want to see that. Right. So I agree. Yeah. All products should be top-notch, and there are some exceptional brands out there. But I think it's beautiful and really reaffirming to see that someone that looks like you created a brand, created a service, created a product that is set to service you, and they understand your pain points. Yeah. They understand marketing, so they're not going to use offensive language. Yeah. The packaging makes sense. The product quantity size makes sense. Like all of those things make a huge difference. And years ago, I mean, we were just taking what we were given, and that was literally crumbs. Yeah. So now it's like we got a full meal.
No, I mean, that's so true. I think thinking about Ava Estell, I think that's one of the differentiations that we did that has really propelled us. And I think we made that differentiation very, very early on. Was that we are gonna essentially just speak to the Black consumer, because when we understand their needs, we can speak to them in the most authentic way possible that they understand. We understand our own slangs and our own way of talking. But at the same time, we want to be able to have the end consumer represented in the products and the solutions that we are putting out there. Because again, like, people don't want to feel like that something has been created and it's just been passed down onto them, right? Absolutely. So like, it's all around, can we create something from the ground up with you in mind, making sure that it will work for all your concerns, first and foremost, before anything else, right? And I think that's the whole premise around Ava Estell. And I think that differentiation is almost like narrowing down and just niching down to just our community is what has helped accelerate us as well. A lot of the times people say you need to go wider so that you can tap into a little bit more, but well, in our case, I don't believe that has been true. I think we've stayed true to our community, and we've listened to what their issues are, and just providing a solution to that has literally just helped propel the brand. So yeah, 100% agree.
And I think that piece of like reflecting the consumer to themselves, or allowing the consumer to see themselves, is really, really important, because community is the one thing that I always say big brands really struggle to establish, and you can't really buy community. Like, it has to be built. So really early on in TreasureTress, like, we've never paid professional models, because I'm always like, no, like, first of all, I'm gonna ask my friends and family, and then when I exhaust them, I'm gonna go out to our subscriber base and say like, who's available, who wants to do a shoot, because it's important that we see ourselves reflected, but not through the white gaze. So not in the way that white people see Black people, but in the way that we see each other, because 100%. I think it's easy to ignore like just the little things that make us special. So like the whole spectrum of shades, the whole range of body shapes, the whole range of hair types even. I think it's really easy to ignore that if you don't come from that community. 100%. So yeah,
even the product sizes as well, like you mentioned, right? I had a comment from somebody, I won't mention the name, was the one from the community. It's like, why are your product sizes so huge? I'm like, trying to ask my mom that. Honestly, because like when it's smaller, I know my people are gonna come and ask me, why you give me something that's so small?
The only thing that I do have though is that I don't have an Ava Estell size product that can go in my handbag.
That's
So I
coming,
was going
don't
to mention it to you.
worry.
I'm going to need that. But yeah, absolutely. But even like the other subscriptions boxes that
Yeah.
existed, right? They were doing sample sizes. But give a black woman a sample size conditioner. What do you want me to do with that?
Exactly.
Like, where's that going? That can't do
Yeah,
my hair.
yeah.
So in TreasureTress, from day one, we were like, we need full size products.
Yeah,
Like, if you
yeah.
can do it, great. If you can't, you can't. But we can't give our subscriber a service that is not going to resolve the issue. And the issue is that they want to try the product, they want to try it at least 3 times, once a week for 3 weeks, that's a month, so that they can decide whether or not they like the product.
Makes sense.
And giving them a sample size product, we're just not going to achieve that. For me, one of the hardest parts was letting go of some control with TreasureTress and
Tell me
allowing
again.
other people to do things.
Yeah.
If I had to mark a moment in time, I'd say it's when my team started growing and I thought, right, I can't be paying all of these people and telling everyone what to do.
Yeah.
This isn't making sense.
Yeah.
So at that point, I started to like think, okay, cool. How can I trust people more? But equally, what I found was that with the right people, the more I trusted them and allowed them to do things their way rather than my way, we actually garnered better results because I can't be the best at everything and I'm not.
100%.
So, but yeah, delegation it's not easy. And to this day, like sometimes I see things, even if it's like an email or a pitch deck, and I'm like, if I had done that, I would have
I've
done
done this.
But equally, I'm like,
Yeah.
I hired them because I trust them,
Yeah.
or I hired them because I think that they possess something that is actually going to help propel us forward. So let them do their thing.
Yeah.
And I oftentimes still have to catch myself like, Jamelia, don't comment. Jamelia, don't send edits. Jamelia, don't adapt that. Like, just let them
Yeah.
go and let them figure it out and let them send it. And sometimes even let them make a mistake, which is a really tough one for me. Like, let them make a mistake so that they can learn from it and grow and develop the way that they need to.
Makes sense.
Rather than me trying to interject. But I think realistically, TreasureTress turns 8 in November.
Oh,
And
congratulations.
thank you. And it wasn't until maybe last year or a year and a half ago that I got a VA, which changed the game because for me, letting someone else take control of my inbox, as you'll know, because we had a conversation about this.
We did.
Letting someone else take control of your inbox it takes a very high level of trust.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thankfully, she's amazing. And thankfully, I trust her with everything because I'm sure she's got my passport, my driving license, literally.
She has your whole life.
My doctors, literally everything. She's got all my life. But that for me was like a huge step where I was like, okay, I'm finally learning how to delegate because the best use of my time isn't responding to every single email that comes in my inbox. Like the best use of my time is thinking about how do I grow the company? How do I grow the team? How do I make our campaigns have more impact? Like, how do we better serve our customers
Makes sense.
as opposed to responding to every email and sending every meeting invitation because it's not the
I
best
know
use
it's
of
a
my
lot.
time.
You've even put me on the PA secret. I know that you've been telling me for a long
So
time to
proud
get
of you.
a PA. Yes, finally I've done it. But no, it's like I agree with you. It's hard because it's almost like it's your baby and you've crafted it. You've put everything together right from the beginning. Because usually as entrepreneurs, it's just us to begin with, and obviously, and as the business grows, we try to bring in more people. And because you've set everything up from right from the beginning, you feel like you have all the right answers to it because you understand every part of it, right? And then in my case, even worse because it's almost like I had been involved in every stage in the business. So right from the formulation, it was like I came up with the formulation, right? I started doing the marketing, I started doing customer service, all the operations, like I set up the warehouse. So it's almost like I've done everything. And I think the first thing I did to really let go was when I believe when it got to the stage where I noticed that we're producing so many products, I can't be the person paying invoices and ordering raw materials. I think at that point I was like, okay, cool, enough is enough. Let me bring in someone else to take care of that. So there was that. I think they were taking care of like raw materials replenishing and stuff like that. Then I upgraded them to just looking after the whole production. I think that was my first thing I really, really, truly delegated to the point where nothing had to come past me anymore. And I was like, oh my God, this feels so free.
Freedom.
Just like trust them to get on with it. And then over time, I mean, I'm still not there yet. I'm still terrible. Like stuff like, I think I even need to get like a CFO or something like that to handle all the finances. We've got an accountant, but just someone that just thinks about the financial side of the business.
Yeah.
And now we're getting to the stage where I think I delegated the marketing and everything else as well. So that is hard. But I think as we grow, The more we grow, the more we realize that it's important to let go and hire people you can trust to be able to take care of that work. And once you've brought them in, as long as you've brought them in and I'm supposed you trust them, right? And
Yeah.
just let them do their best work. And you just do the thinking and around how to elevate and grow the business. Of course, they'll probably still check in with you. But I think it's very hard. It's not easy at all. Anyone that tells you it's easy is not. But I think it's one of the works as entrepreneurs that we have to do on ourselves to be able to let go, because the business will get to a stage where you're not you're not even the right person for the answers. And as long as you are self-aware enough, you should be able to let go.
I mean, you said a lot of things there. The first thing that you said was that at first they were ordering raw materials and then you promoted them, showing that like you hired them, they gained your trust, and in exchange for your trust, you were able to provide them with a better opportunity. That's important. The self-awareness and working on yourself piece is, when anyone asks me like, what's the most rewarding thing about running a business, or like what am I most proud of, I always say that it's like the way that has pushed me personally to my limits, to the point that I have no choice but to grow. And sometimes I look back at like Jamelia when she first started, or like Jamelia 2 years ago, and I'm like, oh wow, like you've actually evolved so much, because business does that to you. Like working and managing people, will put you on that accelerator program. It will fast track you on your personal growth journey, because there's certain things that like, you can't take everything personally. Everything is not about you. You have to trust people. You have to learn to delegate. You have to manage your ego, because you're not the best at everything. You're not the only one that can do everything. Yeah, it's a
lot.
It's called for hard knocks. It really is.
So when I think about Ava Estell, I think it's changed me in so many ways. Because when you think about it, I mean, I feel like we've been at this for 30 years, and it's only coming up to 3, because every day is a battle. Right. I feel like every day there's something that's just like this close away from taking us out of business. Right. So that's the kind of like daily battles you're fighting and firefighting that you're constantly having to do, because business is hard. I think the one thing I've really learned is not to really take anything personal. Like,
absolutely.
There's always, it's almost like this phrase that everyone says, but this too shall pass. And I think whether it's good or bad.
Absolutely.
Right, and that's the number one thing I've learned. It's like, listen, like this is happening right now. It's very, very stressful, but it's almost like, well, you can't ignore it, but like that too shall pass. And just know that there's something else also around the corner that is coming that might even be worse. We've been through everything. Like we've been sued for a cease and desist, right? So we've been through that. Moments where sales are skyrocketing and just having to figure things out. Like, orders are coming in, we have to figure out how to order, and then 2 months later, it's just like takes a nose dip, dive. So yeah, it's probably one of the most difficult things I've done. But if you ask me if I'll change anything, I'll say no. But maybe that's because as entrepreneurs, we're probably also a little bit deluded.
It's so funny you say that. So one of the girls on my team used to say like, Jamelia, like you're just so calm. Like you don't get panicked about anything. And I'm like, honestly, because the things that you lot are panicking about,
it's not what I'm worried about.
Idea what is going on in the background that I'm having to deal with. Like, this is nothing compared to what's going on. So definitely what you said about like, you just know that it's going to pass. You just know to work through it. You know to get over it, because you know something else is coming, both good and bad. But either way, you're going to ride the wave, because this is what you signed up for.
100%. So what was the most defining? What has been the defining moment for you in your business in terms of like growth and like, because I know you've been in business for about 8 years. What has changed something for you?
Yeah, I would say that lockdown.
Okay.
Definitely. Lockdown combined with Black Lives Matter, right? Because there was the hyper visibility of black-owned brands during BLM. Well, Black Lives always matter, but you know, during that time in particular. And then lockdown, we had everyone's undivided attention, because black hair shops weren't deemed essential retail, which is a problem in and of itself, because black people still need to wash their hair, even if we're going through a pandemic. And so a lot of people were saying like, I don't know where to get my hair products from. And everyone was like, try TreasureTress, try TreasureTress.
Makes sense.
Again, we've got a slightly different business model. So an increase in demand is great, but equally we need brand partners that can keep up. So we had to build a wait list pretty quickly where we were like, look, we can't take any more orders, but if you join our wait list, then you can eventually get the TreasureTress subscription and we'll send you out what you need for your hair care.
Makes sense. That's a good
So
problem to have. Eh?
definitely, definitely. Although it's frustrating at the time, right? Because you're like, I want to move faster, I want to
Yeah.
do bigger. Um, but yeah, that was a defining moment because I think it, one, made it clear that we're not being serviced in this country the way that we, not even in this country, we're not being serviced globally how we should be.
Yeah.
Two, the blind spots that the rest of the countries have and the rest of this country has as far as what is essential and what is not,
Yeah.
and who they consider services to be essential for and who they don't.
Makes
So for me, it was a really good opportunity for us to shout about the fact that black women are our priority.
Yes.
Black and mixed race multicultural women are absolutely our priority. You're not our second thought. And then in that, we were also able to do a lot of work with data. So we released our white paper during lockdown and then our trend report last year, just to highlight the differences between the UK and the US, but also mainstream and the black hair scene in particular.
Right.
Because we thought no one's talking about the black British consumer. As soon as anyone hears black, they think African American, which is fine, but black British people are slightly different from African Americans. And how do we want to be serviced versus how African Americans want to be serviced? So it was a good time that definitely helped us get creative,
Yeah.
very innovative, and yeah, it just further highlighted the issue that existed and gave us more ammunition as to why we're even fighting this fight.
Makes a lot of sense. I think, I mean, for us as well, I mean, we did launch during COVID. And I think I keep saying this to most people that ask me in terms of like, what would I do different during business? And I keep saying, I think there's the, I think we might have touched on this before, but there's an element of timing that you can't discount, especially when it comes to entrepreneurship. And I think had we had launched maybe a year before lockdown, a year, I mean, as terrible as lockdown is, I think that was a defining moment, especially for online businesses, particularly if you're serving black consumers.
Yes.
And that moment you can't replicate, and it's almost like you have to, and there are a lot of those moments. I mean, as an entrepreneur, there'll be a lot of those moments throughout your journey. And it's almost like you have to be ready when they arrive, and you just don't know when it's going to show up. Right? So a lot of the things that you do around your trials, things that are not working out, is all preparing. You just better be ready when your moment comes. And it's that element of timing that ties into everything else as well. And I think for us, we didn't even know it, right? We just happened to have launched during lockdown, and that's literally what propelled everyone. We had to learn very quickly the differences between, like you said, the cultural differences between your black British consumer and your African American consumer. And once we kind of figured out, what they want, how they want to be served, we just started scaling in the US, and now I think the US is probably like the biggest share of the business as well. So yeah, 100%. Lockdown, COVID was well, I'll say it was a defining moment in the business, but we started during that, and that, I suppose, defined the business. I think it gave us a momentum that we were able to continue. And I think without that momentum, things would have been a little bit more slower. But maybe sometimes I sit back and think, should things have been slower because it has been hard, right? So I think the opposite, because obviously we produce our own products as well. So the opposite to you in terms of we didn't have the luxury. Well, we could have created a wait list, but I think for me, it's like this is happening for me now as an entrepreneur. Like we need to be able to serve every single customer. So I think at the time, I don't know, my team members probably thought I was crazy, where the orders are coming in, it's like, guys, keep going, foot on the gas, we're not stopping. So yeah, no, but it was a lot of fun during those moments. I think is probably one of the moments I treasure the most.
That's good. And it's nice that, it's like weirdly nice that in like one of the most traumatic moments of our lifetime, something beautiful was actually able to be created within that. So
100%.
you got a positive memory of it, which is good.
Yeah, I mean, let's hope so.
Of course.
Business every day is almost like you're in the trenches fighting. So it doesn't feel like that right now.
Always.
No, but I mean, it's been good. And I think also the one thing, like, so whenever you start a business, obviously it's about you and your ambitions and your goal, and obviously what you want to put out there and how you want to serve your audiences. I think we've always been online since then. I think we did our first in-person event, so pop-up event. What was it, 3 or 4 months ago? And then that's when it really hit home and drive home for me that this is not actually about me. Like, you see the reviews online, you read the emails.
There's actually nothing like meeting people in real life.
Honestly, like, it hits so different when you got the customer right in front of you, just sharing their story with you and how much the product has transformed their lives. And we keep saying like Ava Estell, yes, we're made with melanin in bind, but I think one of our other taglines is we help you just feel more confident within your skin. And it's around that piece when you just listen to people speak, they talk about the level of confidence boost it gives them. And it's not even about skincare anymore. It's about, oh my God, like after using these products, now I can go out. Now, like I feel confident I can step out without makeup. All that
Yeah.
stuff's like, wow. So from then I really noticed and realized that wow, this thing we're creating is actually just not even about me. It's like it's not about my family. It's not about Esther. There is so much more of a bigger cause where there's a reason for us to do this, and not to let these people down because they need something like this. And I think for me
Yes.
that really drove it home for me and just made me more motivated to be able to just like do this brand of justice. So
I definitely
yeah,
think there's a heightened level of accountability when you can put faces to
yeah,
names,
yeah,
and as you said, people can actually tell you how what you've produced, what was once a thought in your mind
yeah,
that you managed to bring into the world is actually helping them.
100%.
And I always say that beauty is actually just the conversation starter.
Yeah,
Like as you said, Ava Estell was like a key to a door that
yeah,
opened them up to more life
yeah,
experiences. Likewise, TreasureTress. Like when we get women in a room, hair care is the first topic, but
yeah.
then we quickly move on to other topics because
Makes sense.
there's just so much more life to be lived.
Yeah,
Once you feel as though you're seen, you're represented, and you're a part of a community that actually means
yeah,
something. So yeah, in real life experiences, that's like the top up of energy that I
yeah,
need
yeah.
every few months where I'm like, okay, cool.
Okay, I need to
I'm
do a
ready
pop
to
up.
meet people.
I need to pop up
Literally.
every 3 months when I'm feeling low.
Pop up, a workshop, something, just so that you can meet people and be reminded
Yeah,
that, oh, okay, cool, this is who you're serving.
yeah,
And this is why you're even in the trenches every single day.
100%. It makes the difficulty worth it. 100%. Honestly. So no, that's a good tip. I need to do a pop up every 6 months.
Sorry, it's your team. Tell me a little bit about work-life balance. I mean, it's a laughable phrase, but
Yes.
you have a gorgeous family,
Yeah.
beautiful wife,
Yeah.
two beautiful kids, and a thriving business. What does work-life balance look like with all of those factors to consider?
Honestly, so the honest answer is, in at this stage of business, there is no such thing as work-life balance. However, there's this thing of coined seasons. So there's seasons rather than balance. So it's balanced around seasons rather than like on a day to day. And I think you really need a good understanding around, in my case, in a way, if you have a family, right? When you're single, it's a little bit more easier to manage because it's just you, yourself, maybe your boyfriend or girlfriend, whatever it is. But when you have a family, I think there needs to be a very clear understanding in terms of what are our goals as a unit, what are we trying to achieve, and how can we support each other in terms of like what we're both good at and what we're building for all of us to get to a certain stage. For us in this current season that we're in, the business also goes through like cycles as well, right? So there will be instances where I am required to be on it for a good month or two or three in some cases where the business just requires my full attention. And I feel bad because then I feel like I'm not being, I don't know, a good father, a good dad, a good husband in order to support a home. But then there's seasons where if things are quiet, that becomes the priority. And I think we got to a stage where now, Esther being my wife, she's probably in the background somewhere. We've worked on that, and there's that level of understanding in terms of like, if we're gonna build this business, this is what is required. Until maybe it gets to a stage where, maybe God willing, I might be able to remove myself as a CEO and just bring someone that's capable enough to run the business. But in this current stage, just like building it off the ground, it's probably one of the most difficult things, and you need a lot of communication and understanding around your setup in a dynamic. You have to do what works for your family unit as well. I think that's what we worked a lot hard on. In the beginning, it was tough, right? Because like I said, I got two little kids, Ava and Kane, and it's almost like they want all your attention. They don't understand why they don't see
Yeah.
daddy at home, like at dinner time. I'll try and have breakfast with them or something like that. But then there could be something going on that requires all my attention. Something's going wrong in the warehouse. There's always something going wrong somewhere. You're putting out a fire. The business is growing at a tremendous rate that you can't step back. And then there'll be even sometimes I have to go to work on weekends, right? All of that stuff. But then, like when it's really their time, I try to just like literally just put everything away. Where you take out a whole week, a whole 2 weeks, and just spend it with them, just to try and just balance it out that way. So yeah, on a day to day, it is very hard. especially if entrepreneurship is what you've chosen to be your vehicle as a career. But yeah, try and balance that in seasons. And I think I'm looking forward to this season where we don't have to do so much more of that. And then hopefully as the business grows and as we hire more people and as more senior people come into the team, that is looking more and more feasible, where now I can drop them to school and not have to be by my desk by 7 a.m. in the morning, for example. So yeah, a lot has changed. I think in this current season, I actually don't work on weekends anymore, which is very good.
That has been a rule of mine for a while.
So before it wasn't possible, honestly, because before there was something going on. Like, so our weekends for us has always been like the busiest days in terms of sales. So before there was something breaking on the website where like, oh, customers can't check out. I'm the one that created the website. I need to just like grab my laptop, open it, figure out what's going on, and fix it. If not, we're losing money, we're losing sales. We've got so many orders. They need to ship out by Wednesday. We haven't got enough products. I need to be at the warehouse helping them either label products, produce, whatever it is, because you just don't have the resources to be able to hire enough people just yet. So as we go through our growth, more people are coming in, more senior people are coming in. Now there's someone that just handled the website, I don't have to touch it. I've got a whole production manager just runs the whole thing. I don't have to be there, right? So yeah, I'm kind of enjoying this current season. I mean, that I don't have to work on weekends anymore, thank God.
Love it.
But nah, it's difficult. It is difficult, and if you don't have, it's not even support. It's about understanding about what works for your unit and your dynamic and your household. And if you don't have that, it's going to be really hard. Yeah. How about you? What's work-life balance? What does that look like to you?
I think I don't remember where I heard it, but I heard someone say that like it just doesn't exist, isn't it? Like you just have to find a way for them to coexist.
Yeah.
So I've kind of just normalized like times in the day that are like actually for me. So like going to the gym is actually for me.
Makes sense.
I fall into the trap or sometimes try not to answer emails when I'm there. But really like that's like Jamelia time for me to pour into myself.
Yeah.
I think as a woman it's a little bit easier, right? Because you have like your skincare routine, your hair care routine. So there are like these pockets in the day where it's like, this is for me to pour into me.
Yeah.
But I do think that like having a good understanding partner definitely makes things easier because I think it helps deal with the guilt.
Yeah.
Because the guilt can be a lot when you're like, oh gosh, I haven't been home.
Of course, yeah.
I've been coming back late.
Yeah.
I'm on my phone when we're meant to be spending time together.
I still complain about it all the time. And I think just like one more email, like they need to get this done across the line so that, because sometimes you don't want to be the bottleneck, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, but it's dinner time. It's like, yeah.
Just gonna send this quickly.
Someone's waiting on me.
But I think my life feels a lot more peaceful now, where I haven't tried to be like, all right, I'm going ham right now, and then I'm going on holiday for 3 weeks. Like, no, I just accept that. Okay, if there's like 4 days and I want to go to a conference, I'm going to go to the conference. I'm going to hop on that plane. I'm going to come back, and then I'm going to continue my work, and I'm even going to do work when I'm there. But I think I've just found like a good flow between it all, where I don't feel like hyper stressed. And then try to have this season of, not even season, because I liked how you described season, but not have this period where I turn off. I've kind of just accepted that turn off period isn't really going to happen. And that everything's always going to be there in the background. And I'm probably going to be thinking about something in my mind, but just making these like pockets in the day that are like sacredly mine, where I get to pour into myself instead of like being on my laptop or my phone or...
I bet you this, over the last 8 years, there's never been a day gone past that you haven't thought about something to do with the business.
Absolutely not.
Honestly.
Absolutely not. Which is why I actually look back and I just laugh at like Jamelia, who was working in retail in uni. I used to think my managers were mad. Like if my shift started at 9 and I came in at like 9:07, I would be like, why are they so upset? Like, I'm here. Now I'm like, I get it. I actually get it because granted, they weren't the business owners, but they were in a managerial position. And there's certain things that need to happen at certain times in order for things to happen. Now, as a business owner, I just think people really underestimate what it takes. Like they think, oh, my boss is on holiday on a beach. Your boss is on holiday on a beach thinking about the business. Like, honestly. It's different. Like,
or reading a business book.
Literally. Writing, reading, reflecting, brainstorming, rethinking, I'll rebrand something, but like there's not that luxury.
100%.
And I think that's definitely a massive misconception where people think like, yeah, once you get to a certain point, like you're just chilling. No.
I
You're thinking
think
about your business.
100%. I was gonna say the nature of your work also changes with it as well. So like you might not be doing the same thing anymore, but you're doing more high level stuff, which yeah.
Yes.
And talking about beaches, actually, like you are. I'm trying to take a leaf from your book actually to actually just go on a lot more holidays. I think I recently went on holiday. Well, some of our friends were getting married anyway, so that was an excuse for us to go on holiday, especially with Esther, my wife, with the other kids. And I think when I thought about it at the time, we hadn't been on holiday for a whole 5 years. Granted, COVID was also part of it,
Yeah.
but I think since we got married, we hadn't even been on honeymoon. So it
Neither
was
had I.
like,
Jamaica was our honeymoon.
so it was like, got married, grind, 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 then COVID, then the business, and then it's like no time. So we literally hadn't been on holiday or anything like that for a whole 5 years. And that was the first time actually doing something. So she was like, yeah, I'm going on. I was like, yeah, you go on, babe, you've earned it.
Yeah.
Whatever you want. But yeah, it just goes to show we probably also need to take more time for ourselves and just actually just
Yeah.
relax.
And it's like giving yourself permission, but
Yeah.
also leaning into the things that give you inspiration.
Yeah.
Like for me, travel is, I feel like it's part of my DNA. Like it's something that I
Amazing.
have to do in order to work, in order to create, in order to have ideas. I actually need to travel.
Right.
And so I try not to separate it from work all of the time because I know that if I'm going somewhere, I'm going to get inspiration for something. I'm going to have an idea. I'm going to work on that idea. I'm going to come back. I'm going to share it with my team.
Makes sense.
And for me, again, it removes that guilt part where I'm like, oh no, I feel a bit bad. Like it's busy at work
Yeah.
and I'm here. But no, it's
always
busy.
going to be busy.
Exactly. It's always going to be busy. And yeah,
Yeah.
I'm here,
Yeah.
but there's actually a bigger picture.
Makes sense.
And you've got to take care of yourself. You absolutely have to take care of yourself because when you lead a team, you're so concerned with everyone else that it's really easy to neglect yourself.
Yeah.
And I learned that the hard way year and year again. And I think this is the first year that I'm like, no, first thing in the morning, me time, do what I need to do, meditate, pray, read my devotional, and then we can get into the day.
Yeah, I'm going to try and be like you, not answer emails once I'm in the gym.
I mean, I was there yesterday and I'm still answering emails. Only the urgent ones.
No, that's amazing. If I was to start my business again today, what would I do different? I think we touched on this earlier around element of timing. I don't think so if someone was to start the same business, it probably, I doubt it will have the same level of success just because of the element of timing. It's not at the same time where we don't have people on their phones, we don't have people's full attention. In terms of just socially what was going on at the time as well that were propelling black businesses as well, and especially businesses that were serving black people. It's not the same time, so things will probably be a little bit more differently. I will start the same business because I absolutely just love serving our people. Serving black people is probably one of the most difficult and joyous things I've ever done. Right? If they love you, they love you, but what betide you do something wrong, like they will absolutely tear you apart. And I just be like, oh, sorry, auntie, I'm not gonna do that again. So yeah, I would 100% do the same thing, just because I think that our people need solutions like this, and what better is to come from people that look like you, that understand you, and can better serve you and your own needs. But I think it'll probably be more around building a stronger community right from the beginning. So I think we're getting to the stage where now that all the what's the right word? So all the currency are now in closed communities, right? Just like a tight knit community. I think this is saying that it's better to have like 1,000 true fans than 1 million people that just want to try something from you. I think for us, because the way it happened and things blew up very, very, very quickly, we didn't have time to really sort of like nurture the community the way we would have wanted to, which we are doing now. So I'll probably lead with community first, but I'll do the same thing and probably not expect the same level of growth or success. But again, it's just about just being true to yourself and to the business and just serving that community in the most authentic way possible. How about you? Would you do the same thing? And would you do it the same way?
I'm actually unsure.
Okay.
So would I do it the same way? Yeah. Yes. Because yes and no. Yes, because I feel like from day one, I was really close to the customer.
Right.
I was the customer, then I was really close to them, and then I was constantly like just observing them, like how did they open our boxes? There was a point when the TreasureTress logo was only on the outside of the box, but everyone was taking pictures of the inside of the box. Right. And I was like, this is really grinding my gears because we don't know where they got these products from. There's nothing to tie it back to us. So why did I say that? Oh, because I'm always observing the customer. So I'll definitely continue to do that.
Yeah.
I think the thing that I would do differently was I thought that the problem that I was solving was a local problem.
Okay.
So I thought TreasureTress was only needed in the UK because I was in the UK and I was really frustrated that I couldn't get products.
Makes sense.
But the reality is that women subscribe to TreasureTress from across the world because they need access to products, regardless of where they are in the world. I said I'm unsure about whether I'd do the exact same business because, like you, I think timing is important. Like when TreasureTress was launched, there weren't subscription boxes in the UK.
Right.
It was a really niche idea for Black people. Now there's been a lot that has come and gone.
Yeah.
I do really like the whole product navigation piece. So like helping people find what works for them in beauty. So yes, I would still do that. Would I do it through a subscription box? I'm not entirely sure. I'd have to think about that a bit more. But putting community first was definitely something that I will like always do because it just makes it so more fulfilling. Yeah, I don't feel like you need many other external motivators when you know your customer, you're connected to them, and you've got a relationship.
100%.
I think that provides you with the ammunition that you need.
Yeah, I mean, which is amazing. If the customer trusts you and they're loyal to you, then I mean, it makes you don't have to acquire new customers. It's just you know, the ones that love you are always going to come back. So.
Yeah, definitely that piece. And I think, again, it's like the everyday experiences that make you think, oh my God, wow. So we done an event for one of our friends maybe 2 weeks ago. And there was a lady that was serving us at the venue and she was like, so nice. And then like everyone had to introduce themselves. I introduced myself, and then at the end she was like, "Oh my God, I used to be a subscriber of TreasureTress. Like, honestly, you changed my hair care." And I was like, "Wow, this is mad. Like, this is just so far removed from like my typical environment. Never been to this venue before. Didn't even know it existed. But there's someone there that we've been able to help find the right products that work for them.
Makes sense.
And that made me feel like, okay, yeah, this is the right path." And yeah, this is the right work. Now for you, in 5 years' time, where would you like to see Ava Estell?
I think we want to continue on the path of just being known as the go-to brand that helps women of color, just, not just women anyway, just male women, just people of color in general, just really just help them with their unique skin concerns. I think we've started that journey, but there's so much we haven't touched on, you know, when you think about stuff like ingrown hair treatments, right? Like so many people struggle with it. So it's like, who do I go to get a solution? So we want to be known for that. I think we've started building on that, and just really just diving in back into the community. Just if you struggle with anything to do with your skin, go to Ava Estell, and I think that's what we want a brand to be known for. No, globally, hopefully, but let's see how far we get in 5 years' time. Yeah. Where do you want TreasureTress to be?
In 5 years' time, I expect that TreasureTress would have continued to help women globally navigate beauty.
Right.
So literally women in any remote part of the world that need to figure out, this is my hair problem, or do you know what, I don't even know what my hair problem is, I just want to try products. We want to do that for them. But the part that like, okay, on the B2C side, the part that feeds me is like the testimonials from customers who say like, I didn't know what to use, you really helped me discover these brands. But on the B2C side, I think my joy comes from Black-owned brands. And I would love for us just to have so many to choose from, so many ranges, so many products to be able to feature that, yeah, we're able to just really claim back a lot of the market share, because beauty is really concentrated. But when we think about like the number of products that are available specifically by Black founders, there's still a lot of room for growth. And so I would love to continue to work really, really closely with Black brands, Black-owned brands, brands that cater to Black women, multicultural women specifically, just to help them get their products in front of customers who maybe haven't heard of them, haven't tried them, or have heard of them but just haven't converted yet because they're not sure. So continuing to propel those businesses as well, I feel like will definitely be like the projects that I continue to work really, really closely on.
Yeah, which is amazing. Hopefully, Ava Estell can do more collabs with TreasureTress as we launch new products.
Absolutely, because the streets are asking for it. We've got to deliver to their doorstep.
Don't worry, we got you.
Amazing.